What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I got an unboxing video for you of the DIY PC case, the DIY A1-W to be exact. And I wanted to do a quick unboxing and quick first look to take a look at this case in particular. It caught my eye on Newegg, and I kind of want to give it a thorough review and just take a look, a raw look. I only have opened it just to check for damage, so let's take a look. Alright guys, like I mentioned, this is going to be a raw unboxing, so for the most part this is going to be my brand new first take of what I see and what I think of the case. So let's get this tipped over real quick and see what we got inside. Handles catching the edge there. There we go. Well, first take is it's tight. Tightly packed. Oh, well. There we go. These things tend to get stuck in the side and catch when you're trying to do this. So just a tip for you. There we go. Once you get that out of the way, things go a heck of a lot easier. So, ooh, that was a lot of static. Okay, so let's flip this over. All right, first thing we got here is a foam pad that actually is butted up against the tempered glass panel. So I like that as an extra layer of protection. Aside from that, there's just your basic styrofoam piece. There's a lot of static on this thing. And let's just get this other styrofoam piece off. Okay, push that to the side. You're on the front, so let's flip it over. So DIYPC is a pretty budget-oriented company. I've built with a couple of their cases before, but this one in particular caught my eye because it being white. It's kind of a remake edition of, I don't believe I remember the model, but there's it's very similar to another model of theirs. Difference being white, obviously, and tempered glass. So that got me pretty excited, considering this was $37 on Newegg before tax and shipping, so I think it comes out to just right at about $40. But I thought this is quite a bang for the buck, at least how it looked online, so I wanted to get it and just take a look. So let's kind of spin around here to the front, just take a quick look. So at the front we have a kind of a matte feel and a matte look of like a brushed fake aluminum. It's plastic, but so we got USB 3.0, USB 2.0s, audio and mic jack, LED status for your hard drives, reset, and power. Some people will critique this because it's got just one USB 3.0. Again, this is a budget case, so I mean, I don't knock it necessarily for that. I'm not. If you really want all the super nice features, then go with a higher dollar case. So anyway, one other thing I noticed here is at the top, real quick, a magnetic dust filter. That's nice. Nice little addition. Sometimes that's usually more of a kind of a premium option, I guess. But at the top we can see the finish is different than the front. So this finish at the top and actually the back side is a glossy white, so that's interesting. So we got gloss white on the side and we have a matte kind of white on the front. So no biggie there. Probably some type of corner cut in the manufacturing process, I'd assume. So again, I'm not knocking. This is a budget case, and I bought it for a budget build. So really, they're, you know, no big knocks for me. So let's spin it around here to the front again. Kind of review the last of the features. We got like a little bit of a mesh intake. It doesn't look like it can do a whole heck of a lot as far as providing airflow, but we'll just have to see how that goes once I get the system built. All right, so let me pause the video here a second. I'm gonna move the camera so we can get, as I open up the tempered glass side and the rest of the other panels, and give you a closer look. So alrighty, let's get this opened. So got a warning that this is tempered glass and to handle with care. So I'm gonna undo these thumb screws. We also do have a layer of plastic or film on the tempered glass, which I'd say is pretty standard, but glad there's some care taken with that. Let's see if there's an additional layer on the inside part of the tempered glass. All right, there is, so that's good. So prevent fingerprints while building. So I'm going to put this off to the side here, out of the way. All right, so got it now opened up, and let's take a look. So here we got, and that actually took off quite a bit of weight off the system. Again, a budget case, you know, we're not looking for all the super nice features. So inside we got a colored manual for installation that just goes over all the details of options of things that you can do. I'm just going to push that off to the side for now because we're just taking a look here at the case. So hanging down here is your typical cables. We have HD audio, USB 3.0, USB 2.0, and the front panel stuff. I'm not really going to go into a whole lot of detail of that. That's pretty standard with all cases. Here is the fan cable. It's jammed in there. Actually, I'm going to open the back real quick. Let's just spin that around real quick so we can see that process as well. Again, like mentioned, this is a very glossy finish, which I don't think looks bad, but it kind of does not kind of go with the front so much. So honestly, I think if either a full gloss or a full matte finish would have probably complemented this case better. Again, it's probably more than likely a manufacturing shortcut for cost, but oh well, not gonna knock that. Oh, this fan is Molex powered, which, okay, so it's not a PWM, take that in note, which I think actually will work out pretty fine for me, because I plan on likely, if we spin it back around to the front, it doesn't have provided additional fans other than the rear exhaust fan. So I am likely going to put a couple here just to try to provide some, you know, progressive airflow from front to back. I do have some extra white fans actually that look very similar to this one. Another kind of reason why I bought this case, but yeah, so that is a bit of a bummer seeing this as Molex. I can't imagine that being very much of a difference in price and manufacturing. It's probably just where they got these fans from. So anyway, tied off here on the back, we'll take that off real quick. This is just some hardware that the case comes with. Again, pretty standard stuff. Inside we have a motherboard speaker, some standoffs, some basic case screws and extra thumb screws, etc., etc. The standard stuff. So anyway, let's take a look here at the power supply shroud. So it is perforated a bit for some airflow. I do like that there's these holes here that allow for running of the HD audio and front panel connectors nice, so we don't have to bring them across. None of these cable management holes have any Grommets, again, it's budget, so I'm not expecting that. So let's spin it, and then of course we have the motherboard tray. It's already got some pre-attached standoffs. Looks like, actually, it doesn't say. Sometimes there's a guide, and it doesn't really say. But I'm assuming that what it looks like is a ATX standoff orientation. So that's good. It makes that easy for me. I'm just going to pop the motherboard in. Here off to the side we have appears to be, again, this is a raw view, so I don't know where everything is. This is a raw view. So looks like this is some areas to mount your SSDs, judging by the hole patterns. I think that, and then from the front here we do have a bit of a hole, a gap, so you can run, there's enough for 2 fans, so a radiator will fit, but due to the very limited amount of perforation in these vents, I don't imagine getting the most optimal performance of, you're probably better off mounting one up top because you do have space for that. Let's spin it around to the back real quick. Take a look at the expansion slots. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 expansion slots. Again, this looks like a very cheap, basic layout. And actually, these are the pop-out kind. So be careful with that. You want to make sure that you pop out only the ones you need, because unless you have some spares you can screw back in, you're going to be stuck with a hole. So it looks like, interestingly enough, they left one open. I don't know if that, I guess that's by design. I'll have to check the box. I wonder if that maybe popped out. I can't imagine that popping out, so that must be there by design, but that's probably the one I'm going to end up using anyway. So, and then got a hole for your power supply, which you would install right here. Pretty large gap for a power supply, so most of your standard budget oriented power supply should work just fine. And then it actually does have a vent on the bottom if you want to mount it right side or top side up. In this type of case, I guess it doesn't really matter since you have a shroud, but here's, you know, your cheap filter that most of the cheap budget cases have. Let's see if I can get this out real quick. So cheap filter. Yeah, anyway, not much to be said about that. Flipping it back up here, looks like we have some 3.5-inch drive bays for hard drives. Those are pretty simple here. They just they do click in. So it looks like you just pull these tabs to pull them out, and they do click in place. So that does secure your hard drive adequately enough. And again, the back side here is where you'd be mounting your SSDs. We do have some basic cable tie downs spots, which is good. One thing I do see about this case is that may be a challenge is the space we have between the motherboard tray and the actual back of the case, though they do kind of help you out a little bit with that, with the back having a punch out that gives you a little more space, so that may not be really a problem at all. Again, we're not really going ham on this build. It's going to be a pretty basic build, so we're not going to have a bunch of like extra cabling for various other things. I am a little curious what this is here. This looks like it may be, yeah, it looks like another location to mount yet another drive. So I kind of like that actually, because you can kind of mount a secluded drive here in the back and have just a quick cable run, and might make things look cleaner. So that might be the location where I mount my SSD for this system. Let's see, what else can we talk about with this case? I think we've pretty much gone over everything. I want to take off this front panel here. Let's see if I can without breaking anything. Just to see what kind of, there we go. What do we have to work with in regards to airflow for the front? So, here you go. Not a lot at all. In fact, it might be better that, I mean, I understand they're trying to catch like dust and major particles that might be coming in, but that is your only inlet for air. So, you know, it's pretty limited, and there's no hole on the bottom. It is completely closed off. So this case is probably going to be pretty choked for air. So you definitely don't want to consider this case for a high-end performance, high cooling need build, which mine won't be. So this case is optimally fine. I do like the look, you know, with this mesh front, but it just doesn't provide enough air. I think where DIYPC could probably benefit is kind of like in the fractal design cases where there's a large gap at the bottom that's not noticeable, but allows for a very additional amount of air to be inlet through the front. So one other thing I wanted to do before we call this review done is show the remounting, how difficult it is of this tempered glass panel. A lot of times I see budget oriented tempered glass or even acrylic side panels like this that are a pain in the butt to remount without, one, getting your hands all over the glass, and two, just feeling really uneasy. So one thing I noticed with this case is these are basically just like motherboard standoffs just sitting here, which seems kind of cheap at first, but at the same time it's like, hey, that works actually pretty well, because what we can do is just take the glass and just press it right up on it. And what that kind of does is it holds the glass in place in a more secured way. Now I wouldn't say it's, you know, absolutely secured, but it holds the glass in place while you can come in here and just screw on the thumb screws. So it gives it something to rest on, which I really like, because I've dealt with plenty of other cases that one I can think of right off the top of my head is the Corsair Crystal 570. There's nothing for the glass to actually rest on. You got to hold it there and make sure that you don't drop it. So that makes this process super simple. Yeah, you might get some fingerprints on it while you're holding it, but the main thing is it feels more secure, which, you know, big thumbs up to DIYPC for doing that. Honestly, it's a simple solution, but it really works out well. So just keep that in mind. All right, guys, so this has been my quick and raw unboxing of the DIYPC DIY A1-W for specifically. Like I mentioned, there's some great things about this case. Things that caught my eye, definitely the tempered glass, that kind of being more of a standard now with even budget cases, which I was really happy to see. I think this is actually, I want to say, the first DIYPC case that has this feature. This also does come in black, but I decided to go with white. But I don't know off the top of my head if I've seen a DIYPC case that has real tempered glass. Obviously, there's some negatives to it being budget, though, right? So we got kind of a color mismatch with the matte front and the glossy top and side. Again, I mean, that might get to some people's OCD, and that might just be you know, something that leads them not to buy this, whatever. Again, another thing I think that has been kind of a standard weakness with DIYPC is because they're budget oriented, the materials are a bit cheap. This is a plastic piece up front with just some mesh, and that mesh is, as we saw, provides almost zero airflow. So it'll be interesting to see how my PC performs, but again, like I mentioned, not really putting a lot of high-end components to this system, so I think it'll be just fine. And if that's what you target for your build, this again will be a completely fine PC case, right? And you're not breaking the bank, you know, and you get some really, honestly, some nice aesthetics. This tempered glass is great. I love the white and black kind of look. I know that's something that a lot of other people like as well. So honestly, you know, for $37 to $40, whatever this cost me, about that range, I'd say this really ticks all the boxes as far as getting a good aesthetic look, something that, you know, is reasonable to build in. You can build a decent system with it. It's got radiator support. So it's got a little bit of everything, but not everything done amazingly well compared to the super high-end chassis. Again, this isn't one, so I feel like it's not real fair to compare this to a super high-end chassis. Anyway, so this has been my review of the case. I hope you enjoyed this content. I hope this provides some good information, feedback of this case. As I mentioned, I will be building in this case, so that is in an upcoming video. And that way you'll get to see everything put together inside this case and see what a system looks like as well. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys in the next tech video coming at you real soon.